Welcome to Decades, hosted by Chris Rubio. Decades is a show made up of 5 generations of people brought together to discuss topics you wouldn't normally talk about with others. The goal of the show is to learn by having some good, possibly heated discussions, without losing the simple fact that it's okay to talk to different people with different opinions other than your own.
Welcome to episode 23 of Decades. My name is Chris Rubio. I'll be your host for tonight's show. We've got a doozy. Our 3 topics we're going to cover are: is Europe going to hell? What is with America and mass shootings? And is the Rona back? Before we get to talking to every one of our panelists, let me bring out our co-host, lighting guy, gaffer, carrier of Rubio, handler of Rubio, and whatever else. We don't really know what he's doing back there. Sub 60 Ed, what is up, my man?
Hello, Mr. Rubio. How are you, my big yellow bald-headed friend?
I'm fantastic as always.
Excellent. Let's get this party started.
All right, I'm going to start. Let's go with the youngest to oldest. We're going to start with the female of the group, Madison Lang. She's in her 20s. She's born and raised in Idaho. She spent the last 9 years as a bartender and nanny in New York City. We're not sure if at the same exact time. And she's also the favorite child of her parents. What is up, Madison?
Hello. Thanks for the introduction.
Anytime. Next up, we've got Cruz Rubio, also in his 20s, is a student athlete in Middle California, basically Southern Oregon. He likes to barbecue, argue, wear chanclas, and go to the beach. What's up, Cruiser?
Howdy.
Next up, also in our 20s, got a lot of 20s, we got Charles Wallace Jr. from Philly. He's a 2-time, not 3-time wiffle ball champion, host of From Gridiron to Goalposts on YouTube and the NGBN.TV network, and really, really into AI blondes in bikinis. What's up, Chalice?
What's up, guys? Pleasure to be here.
Next up, we've got Alex Chris. He represents the 50s. He's originally from the Ukraine group in the USSR, lives in LA. He loves good beer, and he heads up the Charlie Sheen fan club. What's up, Gru?
Greetings from hot and steamy Los Angeles.
Okay, hot and steamy Los Angeles. That's getting aggressive. And last but not least, we've got Bill Geiser representing our 60s. He's an entrepreneur, a wearable tech guru, one of the first people on Twitter, a phenomenal swimmer that lived in Florida, and a Cowboys fan. What is up, Bill Geiser?
Hey, guys, I would appreciate it if you don't refer to me as the oldest. I'd prefer the most experienced.
Absolutely. Most experience with most wisdom. We can do that. Yeah. Before we get right into the topics, let's go into 2 email questions. And Sub 60 Ed, last time we did this, I forgot to do the email questions after each segment. So don't let me forget. Understood?
I won't. Understood. I got you. I'm your handler. I'll handle it.
All right. We're going to start with Charles Wallace. Charles Wallace, what are some of your hobbies?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot here. Man, going to the gym, yelling at the TV at games that I have bets on, and real life blondes.
Real life blondes. All right. Ed, we'll go to you next. What are your favorite sports teams?
Everybody in the Washington, D.C. area. That would be the Washington Redskins / Commanders, Capitals, Wizards, Mystics, Nationals, everybody.
Has any of those teams ever won anything?
Yes. The Capitals, Nationals, and the Reds, and the football team back in the 80s.
Well, yeah, okay, so 70 years ago. All right, let's move on. Okay, first topic. Let's go to, is Europe going to hell due to mass immigration? I don't know if you guys have been looking around lately, but Europe has very open immigration policies. You can come on over, go what's going on. Recently, I think just as of today, there was a country, I can't even pronounce it. It's a small country right off, or island right off of Italy, where the population is 5,000. And I think they had 33 boats come over with 6,000 South Africans or something today. And so it's just basically getting overrun. Does anyone want to open up with this one? Is Europe going to hell due to mass immigration? I'll start with the young one. Cruz, what about you?
Yeah, I actually have the clip of that, if Ed wants to play it.
Hey, regardez, vous pouvez partir. Ayez pitié de vous-même.
Okay, I'll be the first to admit that I've never been to Italy, but that does not look like a group full of Italians. So, Cruz, what's your comments on that?
So just first and foremost, I think this immigration doesn't really do either side really a ton of help in this situation. You see all these immigrants coming into this island that is now become the people that lived there before are now the minority within there. There's clearly not enough jobs to go around on this island. You can tell that there's not enough resources based on them begging for water bottles. I think it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved unless these immigrants can potentially move to more populated cities within Western Europe. Overall, right now, it seems like the system is just allowing anyone to come in, and that's more so it's hurting both sides, both the immigrants and the people that live there.
Yeah, there's no way that small little place or even sometimes a big city has the infrastructure to even hold that. Bill Geiser, you are the most wise of us. What have you ever seen anything like this?
Yeah, our southern border.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me? I mean, I got a couple of thoughts on this, but it dawned on me when I was when this topic came up and I started doing some research, is we have some number of countries in the world that are hemorrhaging people. They're coming into our country. They're obviously coming into Europe, and the cost and the direct cost as well as the indirect costs in aggregate, I'm sure are in the trillions of dollars globally. And I'm wondering why we take this thing of we have to deal with this problem as opposed to going to the guys that lead these countries that are hemorrhaging these people and say, fellas, you got to get your shit together. And if you don't get your shit together and solve your problems and make your country livable, I'll do it for you. Because their problems now have become our problems.
Yeah, but Bill, why would they? But Bill, why would they even care? Because the way I explain it, my first teaching assignment was a freshman math class, and it was basically they gave me a math class, 5 math classes, because they had too many students in other classes. So they went to Madison's class, Charles' class, Gru's class, Cruz's class, and your class, and they said, give us 10 kids from each class that you want to go to another class. Who do you think they chose? They didn't choose the math.
I get what you're saying, but look at it. This is a pay me now, pay me later situation. We can either accept this $1 trillion expense we're already absorbing, or we can invest some money in those countries and develop them, make it a livable place. And it's going to cost money. It's going to take effort, but it kind of balances. As far as Europe is concerned, Europe has a really interesting situation in that it's the borders of the European Union that have the security issues. And that's why it's an island off Sicily that Cruz's video was. Once they get there, you can then go from that point to any other point in the EU without ever pulling out your passport. That's just the way Europe works.
Yeah.
And so you've got the security issue on the outside, which needs to be addressed because you don't know who's coming in. From a cultural standpoint, take a look at a number of countries in Europe. They are culturally homogenous. I mean, it is like you go to Sweden, Denmark, Norway. It's where Charles would love to live. They're all blonde. They're all blue eyes. I mean, it's a very homogenous culture, and trying to arrive at political solutions or compromise solutions is really hard. It's really complicated. I think it boils down to 2 questions. Are European nations ready in society, European society ready for diversity? And are the migrants ready to accept European values? Those are 2 questions we haven't seen the answers to yet.
Madison, what are your thoughts on that?
I am just kind of taking that video at face value. To me, those aren't people who are looking to come and like steal jobs or steal places to live. They're scared. They're looking for refuge. I know a lot of stuff is going on in Africa and everywhere where people are immigrating from. And a lot of times it's them trying to get away from a bad situation. And I understand the implications that it has on our country and Europe, like the mass immigration. But again, just getting down to what I just saw, it's sad, and they just need a place to go right now.
Go ahead, Charles. I got you, Gru.
I think that's a good mindset to have in theory, but if you look at crime statistics, they're spiking across Europe, and these aren't run-of-the-mill petty crimes. Directly correlated with this increase in this immigration, migration, whatever you want to call it, violent crimes are spiking at an alarming rate. And I know this isn't in Europe, this is here in our country, but just an example, very close to home for me, the man who was just on the run after escaping prison just outside of Philadelphia, he was here illegally. He got arrested because he stabbed his girlfriend 37 times. Why was he still here after he did that? And I know that that's not Europe, that's here, and it's a little off topic. But I think in a lot of these instances, the people that are coming to Europe, coming to these Western nations, these aren't, in a lot of cases, and this isn't me saying it, this is data supporting it, these aren't upstanding citizens.
I don't think it's fair to say that all of them are, brutal murderers either.
Well, I don't think they all are, but there is a spike that directly correlates in violent crime with the exact time that we get these mass migrations.
And we don't have a way of evaluating the good ones from the bad ones.
Well, yeah, while you two are talking, Ed, can you pull up picks 3 and 4 for me? It kind of just works with Chalice, what he was just saying. You can put them both up at the same time. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one. No, not that one. Well, that one's fine too. Do 4. I think it's about the jackets. Did Ed fall asleep?
You put it on the top shelf.
Yeah. I mean, this is no different than when in Chicago, when the mayor said he was trying to basically arrest Kia, or not arrest, but sue Kia and Hyundai because their cars were too easily be stolen. Like, that's just insane. I mean, but now you're telling people don't buy these nice jackets. And I think, well, Gru, go ahead. I know what I think, but Gru, go ahead.
Okay, as far as Sweden, now Sweden is trying to limit number of people who are accepted into the country, and they're trying to deport extra people that they think basically an extra, they cannot support them anymore after accepting so many. And when I was in Italy back in 2018, in many tourist places, I've seen like basically people like special forces like with M16s, guarding those tourist places, which didn't happen before that.
Yeah, and I think Madison makes a good point, and she's obviously the nicest of the group, which is not really saying a lot. But let's bring him in. It's so sad. It's so sad. But Bill makes the better. He leans on that point as well. Said, yeah, you guys can come over here, but first of all, we're going to give your country a lot of money to basically so you guys have better housing, so you don't want to come here. And number 2, if you do come here, it's not going to be you're coming to my house. I still hold the remote control.
Yeah.
I'm still operating the TV. Doesn't mean that you can take the TV, the remote, and repaint the walls just because you did it in your own country. I think on this topic, we can both agree, but I think with Madison's, like Charles was saying, how do we check good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy? I mean, it's impossible. And yeah, I feel bad for them, but I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not worth me losing my kids over. It's not worth me losing, my life over if they're going to come over and quote unquote not assimilate. And I'm not saying every European country is perfect as it is, but I'm saying when you bring in over a whole nother thing, that becomes quite the issue. On that note, Ed, we're going to go to commercial. We'll come right back.
You have been watching Decades, a show on the NGBN.TV network.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts speakers, authors, and more.
I'm Chris Rubio of The Rubio Method.
I'm Charles Wallace of the Bear Essentials podcast.
This is Bud from the Sports Are Gibberish podcast.
Streaming TV for men, created by men.
Hello, my name is Ian Hill, and I have the tremendous honor of being the CEO of NGBN.TV. We are so excited for you to join us on this journey, helping us build a television network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I'm NGBN, and so are you.
Join our movement at NGBN.TV, coming January 2024.
Welcome back to Decades. Take it away, Rubio.
All right, welcome back to Decades. On behalf of Madison, Cruz, Gru, Bill Geiser, and Chalice, we've got 2 email questions. Sub-60 Ed did not remind me, but I remembered myself. Madison, from what we hear, Lewiston is a smaller town. How the hell did you end up in New York?
I wasn't ready to go to college when I graduated high school. And I had an uncle who lived on Long Island in New York, and I was supposed to go stay with him for the summer. And I did, and then I just stayed. I got my own place, and I was there for 9 years.
Okay. Bill, not to be rude, but you talk a lot about social media for your age. How do you think the younger generation can get the older generation to be more involved and understand it?
They can't.
Okay. There you go.
Sometimes you just gotta, take your losses and move on.
Okay. All right. So next topic. What's with America and mass shootings? It seems to be that in America, we have the quote unquote most mass shootings. Obviously, we have the most guns. I think the amount of Americans with guns outdoes every military by times of like 6, if you do that. But then I was trying to look up some definitions of mass shootings. It varies from over 3 people to over 1 person. So that becomes quite the issue, because when you hear the word mass shooting, you immediately think, oh my gosh, 70 kids at a school, this is horrific, blah, blah, blah. But then you find out it's 2 gang members behind a 7-Eleven, and they consider that a mass shooting, which, okay, that's not a great thing either, but what's the difference? All right, so let's talk. Let's start with Chalice. You live in the, let's say, energetic city of Philly.
Very energetic. I think, I don't know. I think it's tough because there's other countries that have guns. We're not the only country on earth where you can acquire a gun. So I think it's much more on the people that are getting guns than it is, the old saying, a gun's not going to shoot itself. So I think it is on, because there are other countries where you can have guns. This isn't a strictly American thing. I think we need to look at the kinds of people that are getting guns, and then we can start to get to the root of the problem.
Yeah, because I think I read somewhere there has never been a mass shooting or even a large scale shooting from an NRA member, and I think that's kind of a wild stat, because those are the people that probably have the most guns, and they're probably very diligent with their guns. And I don't think there's a way. Yes, there's always going to be guns, unless you go full Australia. Then just the criminals have guns if you're taking away everyone's guns. But isn't it Israel where at 18 you get a gun because you have to go into the military?
Yeah, Switzerland, you have to have a gun.
Yeah, Switzerland. Madison, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with what Charles says. Obviously, a gun doesn't make the decision to kill somebody. The person with it does, and gun reform in that sense is what I would like to see, making it not harder, but there's a list of process that you need to go through to be able to get a gun, which it doesn't exist right now. You should be competent. You should be over a certain age, I think. That I don't think that infringes in any way on somebody's right to bear arms, just by having to take a couple extra steps to prove that you can handle having a gun.
Bill, you had your hand up, then I got you, Gru.
We focus when this topic of guns or homicides and urban violence and mass shootings comes up. It's always about the how. How did people die? Were they shot with an AR-14, 15, a shotgun, a high magazine pistol, whatever? And we don't talk about the why. why this happened. I read a really interesting statistic. When it comes to gun homicides in the U.S. for young men 18 and younger, 84% black, 24% white. This is gun homicides. But gun suicides, 66% white, 9% black. And I started thinking about this. What do these things have in common? And to me, both represent a lack of hope, if you think about it. Obviously, the guy who pulls the gun out and shoots himself has no reason to live. There's no hope. And I would maintain and argue that in the inner cities of America, and by the way, and I'll give you another unbelievable stat about that, is that there's no hope for the American dream. So they have no choice but to go to gangs and drugs to make a living. That's it. That is their sole opportunity in life. And do you know how many kids, young men, mostly black, are killed every day in America? Across the nationwide, over 200. Jesus. We don't say one word about this. And take a look at this. Think of the mass murders in those places well, in places where you have very little crime and hardly any murders. The reason is everyone there is making a decent living. It's only in the areas where it's economically like a disaster zone where we really have a concentration of these issues. So I don't think we talk enough about the why that this is happening. It's all gone on guns and gun registration. And
well, it's a hot topic for sure. Madison, you get your finger up. Gru, I'm coming right back to you, but I want to, Madison, go ahead.
The statistic that you shared about white people versus black people homicides, while that may be correct, I think for black people, it's more like gang affiliated, like you said, but within their own circle. Mass shootings, which is what we're talking about, is it's very high percentage white people.
There are over 200 young black men killed in Chicago annually to mass shootings. Usually the highest one every year, there's a site that keeps track of this, usually 14 or 15 kids shot at the same time. So
but what about the rest of the country?
Yeah, the number of mass shootings like the Columbine are terribly small compared to the deaths in the inner city. It's not even
but not I'm not saying death, like a death, I understand that, but a mass shooting.
Well, the problem is that mass shooting is over two people or one person. Yeah. So the term mass shooting. So if you're in the middle of Kansas, or we'll use Columbine because everyone remembers that. Well, I don't know if you guys were even old enough. You have Columbine, which was 20 people, kids, terrible. Probably in the majority, if not all of them, are white. Yes, that's a bad one. And this is one day in X amount of whatever day it was. But then you have 5, 10, 15, 5, 6, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2. So I think what Bill's trying to convey is that this amount controls this amount by billions. That's what I think he's trying. I could be wrong.
Just to give you an idea, in 2020, there were 226 people killed in mass shootings in Chicago, 234 in 2021, 193 in 2022, and yesterday we crossed the 100 point for this year. These are only mass shootings in Chicago, not just the one-on-one kind, which usually there's, I don't know, close to 1,000 a year.
Okay,
I mean, these are war zones. These are literally war zones. And add Philly to it, Memphis, all the big urban centers, and it's genocide is what it is.
And some kind of gun reform, we wouldn't benefit from that?
No, I don't think so. Because the bad guys have guns. You're not going to get guns out of them any more than you can't buy illegal drugs.
Hold on. Let me get
it's
to Drew. Let me
economic
get to Drew real quick. Go ahead, Drew, and then we'll come back to Madison.
Okay. As far as gun control and gun reform, I did acquire a few firearms over the years, and I had to do my safety exam, and I had to do fingerprints. Wait 10 days to get clear, before I was allowed to have one. Okay, and also another point: cities like Chicago and DC, with the strictest gun laws, have more gun violence comparing to cities with less strict gun laws, where everybody actually can conceal carry or open carry. Okay, and also another point I was gonna make: in many cases of those mass shootings and stuff, the guy who actually the perpetrator usually has some kind of a mental illness, of sorts, totally crazy or just somewhat crazy. And I think in Columbine and many other cases, actually it was parents or a parent who left his rifle or his handgun basically on the kitchen table, and his son basically took the piece and went to school and shot a bunch of other kids. Okay, so it's also parents' responsibility for making sure the gun or the rifle is being kept in a place where a kid cannot just simply get to it.
Drew, all good points, but I'm going to tell you again: when you get fired up, you got to slow down because your accent gets thicker, and I can't understand you.
Okay.
Cruz, you want to add anything?
I mean, I think we checked off every box on this one, really. But kind of like Madison was saying, I think I agree with both some things Madison said and some things Bill said. But it's not, at the end of the day, it's not just a Chicago issue. I mean, it's a countrywide issue. It's happening across a lot of cities all across the country. I think where I live, San Luis Obispo County just had their first mass shooting in, I think, 15 years or so. So you're starting to see in areas more and more. But I think what the biggest issue is that there's not a sanctity of life anymore. It's a massive thing. I think people really don't care to take someone else's life by any means. We no longer value life, and I think that comes down to home morals, maybe religious morals, religious values, something along those lines. I think that there's a huge problem with people and their minds. And yeah.
Charles, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think everybody has made valid points, which is not something I often say on this panel. But I think a couple of things. If we could go back in time and make it that there were just never guns, that's a different topic altogether. That's a different argument. But at this point in time in 2023, most of the people with the guns that are shooting guns at other people, they're not legal weapons. They're not registered firearms. So we aren't going to be able to get them out of their hands because until they use them, we don't know they have them. That's my first point. My second point is kind of touching on what Rubio was saying. In a lot of cases, I think what happens is there's a definition of what we consider a mass shooting. But then the media peddles mass shooting as what we know. Like when you hear mass shooting, you think a school, a mall, something like that, where it's just this crazy loner. So when you hear X amount of mass shootings, you're conditioned to think that this many schools have been shot up, this many malls have been shot up, when the majority of mass shootings are not just because it's still not good, but the majority of mass shootings are not schools being shot up or malls being shot up. They are people in the inner cities engaging in gang violence, which while it's not good, obviously, I think there's a stigma around the phrase mass shooting that needs to be addressed.
Okay, we'll let Madison finish us off on this topic because Madison, I want to come back to, I think the gun reform is a great idea, but I think it's impossible. Because like what Charles just said, the people that are doing 99% of these mass shootings, it's not like they registered their gun at, Big Five or Dick's or wherever they're doing it. They just find their gun. It's shaved off. They got it this way. They get it this way. Just the same way they're getting the drugs. I mean, drugs are illegal too. And, you got people drugged out all over the world. But how do you see that happening? Because it's a great idea. I just think it's impossible.
I mean, I don't think Charles is wrong either. It's not something that would happen overnight. I just think it's a positive step in a direction that we need to go.
All right. Very positive person. I like that. All right. Sub 60, take us out.
You have been watching Decades, a show on the NGBN.TV network. Welcome back to Decades. Take it away, Rubio.
And I shall. Remember, if you have any questions, you can email rubio@therubiomethod.com or ngbntved@gmail.com. Ed, where are you already back?
Don't forget to ask the questions.
I'm going to ask them right now.
Well, you blamed me last comeback that I didn't ask, so I had to jump on.
All right. Cruz, how do you manage your time, being that you are still in college, play football, and are on this show?
It's pretty difficult, but just got to make it work. Can't make any complaints about your issues. I think there's somewhere between like 5,000 more student athletes in the country that have managed to do it. So if they can do it, so can I. It's just about allocating your resources correctly, making sure that you're talking to the right people and getting your stuff done.
And phenomenal DNA. Thank you. Next question. Alex, seriously, what is with the Charlie Sheen anger?
I'm not sure where you get that idea from. I'm not angry at Charlie Sheen. I was just making fun of him.
Okay. We will go on to the final topic. I can see that's a touchy one. I'm not going to bring it up again. You're starting to get some rage on me, and I can tell.
Thank
All
you.
right. Recently, we've had a quote-unquote uptick in COVID-19, or is what I call the Rona. Moderna and Pfizer have just been approved for the next Omicron 17 BX7 variant or whatever. Canada's health advisor was on the TV today saying it's time to mask up again. I know that some certain big cities are already doing it. There was a college in Georgia that already said they're going to do it. So the Rona is back. Let's talk to, first of all, we'll go to Bill Geiser from the free state of Florida, who I don't even know if you knew it, but there was Rona going around 2000 through 2000 or 2020 since 2023 because you were in Florida.
Well, yeah, we did know about it, but you know what we have in abundance here in the free state of Florida?
Sunshine,
vaccine, vitamin D, sunshine.
And so that's it?
That's it. As far as the story of COVID making a comeback, who in their right mind trusts the government on anything? I mean, if you take a look at it, listen to these are some of the things, and I'm going to go back on the first one. Iran-Contra, a big government lie. Weapons of mass destruction. Remember that? That was a bunch of bullshit too. Then you had the Russiagate, and now you've got COVID. And you know, trust is fragile. It's something that needs to be earned, and this government does not deserve our trust. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
We went
from, you think what happened last time? The U.S. government funded the creation of a virus in China.
Allegedly.
They put it out of the lab, and they put 50 million people out of work in a scam to do the mail-in ballot thing. You know, and it's I can't imagine them pulling the same thing off on us this time.
Okay, so we went from Florida, the freest state, we'll go to Madison. You were in New York during the Rona, which was I think one of the strictest states, if not California. And you've got kind of a shit-eating grin on your face. Go ahead, Madison. Is the Rona back? Are you scared of it? Are you nervous?
I'm not scared of it. I don't think what Bill just said is correct.
Which
people
part?
did die. All of it. That it was, I mean, I don't know, that it was U.S. government manufactured. I don't know. All I know, a fact from where?
The government funded the research for what the hell is it called? The Wuhan lab. That's a fact.
Okay, so they created the virus.
Well, it was made in the lab.
We got our fingerprints all over it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay,
go ahead.
Let's go a show of hands here. How many people know someone that died from the Rona? And the next question will be, how many people know someone that had a vaccine issue, like a whatever,
Side effect.
Yeah, side effect. That's what I'm. Raise your hand if you know anyone that died from the Rona. 1, 2. Sub 60 Ed.
No, just coming out.
Oh, okay. Just okay. You just want to come out and see the sun. Okay.
Well,
and then how many people have known someone that had a side effect from the vaccine? You're not sure, Cruz?
Well, I'm not 100% confirmed and denied.
Okay. So Madison, you're disagreeing with Bill on certain things, but you're not afraid of the Rona. You're just going to go live your life.
Yeah, I mean, I followed the protocols that were put in place when it began. New York was a ghost town. There were trailers holding people's dead bodies because there were no place to put them. Wearing a mask didn't alter my life in any way. And it feels like we're past it. I understand it's back. To me, though, right where we're at now, it's an endemic now. It's the flu.
Okay. But when you were,
I'm curious, Madison, did you get COVID?
No.
Did you get the vaccine?
I did get the vaccine.
Madison, for the masking, because obviously you see where I live, Madison. It's like the wild, wild west out here. When you were wearing the mask, did you ever feel like, okay, this is kind of just a farce because I can wear it walking. I have to wear it walking through the restaurant, but when I sit down, I'm allowed to take it off.
For sure. There were so many parts of it that didn't make sense, but it was something
But I know you're very feisty. How did you not look around and go, this is stupid? I'm not putting up with this crap anymore.
Because I thought about the others. I don't know. I don't want to say this and sound like holier than thou, but I thought about the others around me before I thought about how angry it made me that I had to wear a mask. I didn't care. Other people were uncomfortable by people not masking, and I didn't want to cause that feeling of uncomfortability for other people.
Okay, Chalice, you had your hand up. Then I got you, Gru.
Yeah, I'm never going to shock some people, but I didn't buy any of it in 2020, and I don't buy any of it now. I never wore a mask. I was out of a job because I refused to wear a mask. I don't care. I would do it 100 times over again. For me, it's not about I'm not going to just go along with something if I can't be presented with some evidence as to how it's going to be a benefit. To me, it was a test of compliance to see how many people will go along with it. And most people did go along with it. I disagree with Bill, not in a sense of anything he said, except for I think if they bring it back, we will have people gladly putting their masks on again. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that people are going to line up for another jab. They lined up for 3 vaccines when the vaccine didn't stop you from getting it. They will get shots endlessly if you tell them to.
I never got it. I'm vaccinated.
But I didn't either.
Yeah, did I?
Okay.
I didn't get the vaccine.
I got it, and I caught COVID twice.
I think it was all that it's documented that the vaccine wouldn't stop you from getting it. Some people got the vaccine and didn't get it. Some people got the vaccine and did get it. Some people didn't get the vaccine and never got it. Some people didn't get the vaccine and they did get it. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't stop me from getting it, why am I going to get it?
Does the flu vaccine stop you from getting the flu? Do you get your flu shot?
It's not a flu vaccine. The flu shot.
A flu shot. Do you get a flu shot?
It's like I've never gotten polio because I had a polio vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this mRNA is not a vaccine.
It's different.
I haven't gotten a flu shot. I can't even tell you the last time I got a flu shot.
I've never gotten a flu shot. Where do you get those?
CVS.
I don't think we have a CVS here. All right,
Walgreens, Rite Aid.
I think we have a Walgreens. Group.
Okay, as far as not trusting our government, I'm talking about California local government, like our Governor Newsom, who was telling everybody, oh, you cannot go here, you cannot go there, you need to be at home. He was having a dinner with all of his cronies in the height of COVID in that expensive restaurant. And Nancy Pelosi went to her haircut appointment, where all other salons were actually closed. So, I mean, as far as trust in the government, I wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. I think I agree with Chalice that I think people are running to put their mask back on. I think they're going to love it. They like to be told what to do. It's yay. And then you're going to have, I think at this point, you're going to have the people like Chalice who, I didn't do it in 2020. I'm not going to do it now. But I think in my mind, you're going to have more people leaning towards, no way, man. I can't imagine doing this again, because all we went through in 3 years, and what changed? Then all of a sudden, the coincidences of, oh, here it comes again, and then you put the tinfoil hat on it. Oh my gosh, it's during the election time. It's coming back. Wow, it's amazing. How did everyone know this was going to happen? I mean, people have been saying this for 2 years, and just the whole hypocrisy of the massive. You have to wear it in a restaurant, but when you sit down, the Rona doesn't see you. 6 feet is great. 7 feet, you're safe. 5 feet, go red. And then you have these bodies and bodies and bodies in these trailers, like Madison was talking about. Obviously, I have no recollection of that because I wasn't there. But then you also have to think, but they couldn't have funerals. We weren't allowed to have funerals. So what the hell else are we going to do with your bodies? You can't just throw them in a pit. You can't throw them in the ocean. So they have to find these trucks for them because there was no funeral going around.
They wouldn't prescribe ivermectin.
Yeah, the ivermectin. I mean, I know 2 people that were basically quote unquote killed because they didn't have the Rona, but they were in hospitals. And they were in the hospital, but they were in the non-Rona wing. So they were literally just shoved aside and they were not looked at all. I mean, one of them ended up getting like bed sores and just things were not happening that should be happening because they were not in the Rona wing and all the doctors were focused on the Rona patients. And then this person ended up dying. So it's the coincidence is everything's going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. Cruz, you want to wrap it up for us, even though I just did a great job of doing that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. But
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with a lot of the people on this panel. I don't think people are going to be so easy to put them back on. I think a lot of people have kind of come to the past couple of years and realized that whole kind of thing was just a bunch of hullabaloo. I think that they're going to come to terms with the fact that a lot of people are going to say, like, no, we don't want to wear them anymore. We realize that, COVID wasn't that bad for us. I think there are certain people that would be willing to wear masks, maybe people in the older communities. And I think that's fine. I don't really have an issue with that. I think if you're an old person and you feel comfortable wearing a mask and it makes you feel safer and healthier, by all means do it. If you're someone in the age range of the 20s like me, Charles, Madison, you don't want to wear one, I don't see the issue with that either. I think it's everyone's personal choice. I think that's what makes America so great, is that we should be able to have the freedom to choose if we want to wear one, if we don't want to wear one. But at the end of the day, if these big corporations like Target, Costco, Home Depot, whatever it so be, make you wear one to go inside there, that may be an issue moving forward, and you might see a lot of conflict.
Good point. Guys, this was a great episode. I mean, you guys did a great job of agreeing to disagree. We obviously did not agree on a lot of stuff, which is fine, but we can come together, have a drink at the end. We can listen to Sub 60 Ed pick the winner, which I really feel like it should be me this time. But go ahead.
Before I do, I got to say, Cruz, you did an awesome job. You actually closed out that last topic and you put the exclamation point on it.
I literally
so that was him. Out. No, you added, you were like the icing on Rubio's cake. So you actually did it. But
he brought us all together.
He brought us all together and said kumbaya together. I loved it. I thought it was great. However, the winner for tonight is going to be Bill Geiser, because he came in hot with a lot of big facts and a lot of stuff. So, Bill,
give it up for Bill Geiser, the most wise of us all.
Experience.
All right. Don't forget to like the Decades podcast on Facebook and LinkedIn, and also, of course, subscribe on YouTube. For Madison, Cruz, Gru, Bill Geiser, Sub 60 Ed, and Chalice, cheers. Make sure you guys are out there talking to other people that you normally would not talk to. Agree to disagree.
Thanks for watching Decades on the NGBN.TV network. Be sure to spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.